So what are the Upanishads?
They're a set of sacred texts on yoga, and they're coming from the Vedas, which are the kind of the original and oldest texts on yoga. And the Upanishads are like extractions from the Vedas and bringing out these very pithy teachings about yoga, but about life itself.
And when were you first introduced to the book?
I'm not actually sure, honestly. I don't know.
Did you gravitate towards them right away?
I did, yes. I thought they were amazing right away. Like I think maybe the first one that I got in touch with, I know it was in going to India that I came in touch with them, and in collecting these pictures, because many of these pictures have their stories that are either they could be in the Upanishads or they're in the style of the Upanishads. And the first one I think that I got in touch with was the Katha Upanishad, which is an amazing one because it's a conversation between this boy and Yama, the god of death. Like he goes down into the underworld to question Yama. And so what an amazing, fascinating setup for learning.
And so how do you personally use them?
So I use them pretty randomly, honestly. I have several translations, and
is there a specific translation you like?
I like all of them. And I use this one a lot, the Upanishad's Breath of the Eternal, because it's put in the most plainest language. And there's a pretty kind of wide variety of interpretations. Some are more, the language is stiffer or just not as easy to relate to. And I use it, I open it and I read and I try, and like, I almost skim, like looking for something that's going to speak to me.
Can you read us one or two lines?
Yeah. Higher than the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is the essence. Higher than the essence is the immense self. Higher than the immense is the unmanifest. Higher than the unmanifest is the person pervading all and without any marks. Knowing him, knowing it, knowing her, a man, a woman is freed and attains immortality. Why do I like this passage? So for one thing, it keeps showing you these layers of self, right? And this is so important in practice because you've got your body, your senses, your mind, and you could easily stop there, right? Easily. I mean, you could easily not even make all those distinctions. But then if you did, you could stop there. I've got my body and my mind, my senses, right? But here then it goes many layers more, right? So it keeps showing you that there's this deeper and deeper aspects of yourself. And the Upanishads, there's so many of them. There's thousands. And they're all pointing to that ultimate self. And this is how I use them in my practice, because they keep giving you these different fun, like story type of ways and poetic ways, and these conversations between a student and a master to keep pointing you in the direction of the highest aims of yoga. And they're putting it in quite universal terms, like a lot of Westerners, Schopenhauer, Walt Whitman, Nietzsche, all these different Westerners really relied on the Upanishads. And so...
yeah, I mean, you often talk about this idea of the 1% theory and how important that is to the practice.
Right.
Can you just talk a little bit about how this is what you're talking about, right? Like using the Upanishads to zero in and make sure that 1% theory is really strong.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's quite a ratio, right? 99% practice. So it's almost all practice, right? But there's this one little percent of the theory. And the theory, what that could be is quite wide, right? But the Upanishads, they keep reminding you that 1% theory is this self with a capital S, and they call it Brahman. This is the word for your deepest part of you, and the part that you seek by doing yoga.
So you're teaching this 4-part lecture class on the Upanishads, and what inspired you to teach that?
Well, for one, the texts are a lot of times dense and kind of confusing or difficult to follow, it's hard to find passages that are really cut through and speak to you and you can find useful in your practice. And so I'm going to help with that. And then also, these are some of my favorite texts, I mean, out of all of them. Like, this what I lean on and enjoy the most. And so I'm sharing that with my students because that's right, that's what I use myself. And they're very little known, really, when it comes down to it. You don't hear a lot of teachers, hatha yoga teachers, talking about these Upanishads, and they're so useful for that 1%, but also the way they break things down often is very complementary to a powerful way to think about your body and your mind and your senses and your makeup as you practice.
So when does the course start?
Next weekend, next Saturday. And it'll be 2 weekends. They're 75-minute lectures, and they will be live and recorded. And so...
Do you hope that everyone will join you?
I hope everyone will join me, definitely, yes.